As we pass the midpoint of life's journey, we gradually learn to dwell in calm freedom, no longer swept away by the noisy turbulence of the world, allowing the soul to settle into a deep and quiet stillness. At a certain age, one naturally lets go of the craving for excitement, understanding that inner tranquility is what nourishes health and sustains a meaningful life. Whether life is abundant or lacking in material things, the essential matter is to keep the inner world at peace. For it is this serenity that forms the true value of human existence. When the mind becomes still, we begin to understand that some things should be left alone, so the heart remains unburdened. For not everything needs to be held tightly within our thoughts. What cannot be fully understood should simply be allowed to pass, and those who merely pass through our lives should also be let go gently, like a passing breeze. If one only knows how to remember without knowing how to forget, only calculates without learning compassion, or is clever without sincerity, then life will remain heavy with sorrow. Thinking too much only entangles the mind and complicates life, while simplicity is the precious gift that life quietly offers to each of us. As long as we maintain a positive intention and view everything through a lens of kindness, life will naturally become lighter and less burdened by worry. When we learn to transform what we encounter into our own quiet joy, then regardless of circumstances, the heart will always find peace and happiness. One who understands the way of life lives in harmony with nature, allowing things to unfold according to conditions. For what belongs to us will remain without grasping, and what does not will not stay despite effort. Therefore, if we wish to achieve something, we should give our wholehearted effort, yet also learn to release it when it goes beyond our control. The more stubbornly we cling to what no longer fits, the more we create suffering for ourselves and nourish unavoidable sorrow. When we are able to let go, the soul becomes light, and we can accept all that happens in life with deep calmness. The less we are attached to gain and loss, the more pure and joyful our inner state becomes. Fame, wealth, and possessions are ultimately illusions that cannot be carried beyond this life, and thus are not worth excessive concern. Anger, sadness, and resentment will all fade with time, and in the end, we are left only with ourselves. So why not learn to release everything lightly, allowing the heart to be free and letting afflictions dissolve naturally? Much of human suffering arises from greed, anger, and ignorance. So to live peacefully, we must learn to reduce unnecessary desires. When we accept that no one is perfect, we become less harsh toward ourselves and others, and our hearts naturally grow more compassionate. Letting go is not weakness, but an expression of wisdom, for only by releasing can we truly touch genuine happiness. One of the greatest sufferings is expecting perfection from others, forgetting that everyone has their own limitations. When we accept the imperfections of others, we begin to see happiness present even in the simplest, everyday moments. Living fully in the present and cherishing what we have is the path that leads to lasting peace. When the heart is filled with compassion and trust, we are no longer consumed by dissatisfaction or disappointment in life's changes. Happiness or suffering, ease or difficulty, all depend on how we perceive and face our circumstances. Life itself is ever-changing, like unpredictable weather. So one who understands chooses simplicity to preserve inner peace. Those who live simply often find joy easily, while those who overcomplicate their thoughts bring unnecessary suffering upon themselves. Afflictions often arise from overthinking without decisiveness, leaving the mind constantly bound and unsettled. Thus, what needs to be released should be let go with courage, and what must end should be accepted so that new beginnings may arise. True happiness comes from lightness within the heart and simple joys, not from complicated calculations of the outside world. Even a simple matter, when overanalyzed, becomes tangled and burdensome. On the other hand, even complex situations become easier to resolve when we release attachment and simplify our view. Everyone in life must taste bitterness and sweetness, joy and sorrow intertwined, for no one can avoid such trials. Only when we transform suffering into meaning and face life with a positive heart do we reveal our true strength. Nothing in this world is perfect. Just as the sun sets and the full moon eventually wanes, it is precisely this imperfection that makes life vivid, and beauty often lies within what is incomplete, like a flower not yet fully bloomed, or a moon not yet full. It is this incompleteness that creates lasting depth and meaning. Imperfection is the true nature of life, and once we accept it, everything becomes lighter and less burdensome. One who knows when to bow will avoid unnecessary obstacles, just as one who yields will avoid needless conflict. By maintaining humility and a willingness to grow, we continue to mature and progress along life's journey. A heart that knows contentment will always feel complete and happy, regardless of changing circumstances. Having lived through half a lifetime, we come to understand the impermanence of all things and realize that everything that comes will also pass as part of natural law. Amid the vast sea of humanity, each of us is like a small leaf in the forest of life, fragile, yet still carrying our own unique meaning of existence. If there is anything eternal in this world, it is constant change. For transformation itself is the only unchanging nature of all things. Having passed half of life's journey, as the mind begins to settle, we gradually understand the inherent solitude of human existence and realize that life itself is limited within each fleeting breath. Even though people try to fill the emptiness within, deep inside there still remain unnamed voids that cannot be completely erased. The years flow like a river, carrying away all traces, and as long as we recognize this and maintain inner stillness, every pain will eventually fade with time. When we have awakened to some extent about the nature of life, we no longer concern ourselves too much with right or wrong, but instead choose to smile and face everything with calm acceptance. Each life holds two parallel paths, one of the soul called dreams, and one of footsteps called reality. If the soul is not deep enough to feel reality, life becomes dull, and if our steps are not steady enough, our dreams will slowly drift beyond reach. In this world, one of the most painful feelings is knowing that the person we love has given their affection to someone else, yet we still cannot let go. Every meeting and parting in life is shaped by causes and conditions, and when we learn to follow this natural flow, the heart finds peace. When someone is present beside us, if we can bring them a sense of peace and comfort, that itself is already a great accomplishment in life. In childhood, happiness comes from simple things, but as we grow, being able to preserve that simplicity becomes the most precious form of happiness. To not waste this one lifetime, be brave enough to do what you truly desire and cherish what you genuinely love. People often feel disappointed because they place too many expectations, and when emotions accumulate, they become difficult to express. There are people we cannot forget because of lingering attachment, and others we must forget because they are no longer worthy of being remembered. Do not trust completely what you see, for sometimes we only see what we wish to see and ignore what does not align with our desires. In truth, the one who is misunderstood does not necessarily lose anything, but the one who misunderstands others loses valuable opportunities. We often believe we control our lives, yet forget that life depends on countless interactions and support from those around us. Do not trade your long-term future for short-term gain, for anything achieved through harm to others will never be lasting. Life is short and does not grant us enough time to dwell in regret or be troubled by what burdens the heart. If things have not yet reached their conclusion, simply smile and continue moving forward with steady faith. When you meet those connected to you by affinity, offer them sincere warmth amid life's uncertainties. Amid the storms of existence, allow yourself a measure of optimism to maintain strength through every challenge. When we learn to love life and skillfully harmonize all things, joy and happiness will naturally arise. Life is not a harsh race, but a journey of experience, where we learn to savor each moment. If in a race people focus only on the destination, then in life's journey, what matters is appreciating the scenery along the way. When the heart is joyful, everything around us appears more beautiful, for the outer world reflects the state of our inner mind. In life, there are two things we cannot avoid: continuing forward and knowing when to stop. What truly matters is whether we maintain a positive mindset while doing so. A positive state of mind is the best companion, helping us sustain joy and well-being throughout life's journey. When faced with situations, Do not rush into anger or hasty conclusions, especially when emotions are rising. Learn to place yourself in the position of others, to see matters from multiple perspectives with greater understanding. The wisdom of turning big problems into small ones and small ones into nothing significant helps reduce affliction in life. The more complicated a matter is, the more gently it should be handled so as not to create further confusion. Maintain an awareness of sufficiency, for most human suffering arises from meaningless comparison. In life, there will always be those with less and those with more than us, so comparison only disturbs the mind. When complaining about lack, remember that there are those who do not even have the basic conditions to live. If your opponent can make you angry, it shows you have not yet truly surpassed them within your own mind. Turning back to dwell on criticism is unnecessary, like reacting to something that is not worth your attention. Therefore, do not dwell on malicious words, for they only drain your energy and disturb your peace. Do not view work as a burden, but approach it with a joyful and positive spirit. When we see life as an art, we begin to find joy in everything we do each day. To be granted another day of life is already a precious blessing, and what matters is to cherish each present moment. To live another day in this world is a great fortune, so we must value every moment that is unfolding right now. Life is fleeting, like a shadow passing by, so do not allow meaningless matters to leave behind regrets that cannot be erased. The sun rises and sets each day, and whether we are sad or joyful, time continues to move. So it is wiser to live lightly and keep the heart free from burdens. If we do not allow our hearts to be swept away by meaningless gossip and distractions, life will naturally become more peaceful, and the mind will find a gentle sense of ease. The ancients once taught that stepping back one step reveals a vast sky and sea, for patience is the doorway that opens into inner freedom. When we learn to forgive and embrace others with compassion, we are also treating ourselves kindly, for the smile that arises will remain within our own heart. No matter how good a person may be, they can never be perfectly flawless. And no matter how deep a love is, it cannot avoid small wounds along the way. If we learn to open our hearts to accept all things, we will realize that this world is not as harsh as we once imagined. Understanding is like a bridge connecting two distant shores, helping people find a way to come closer to one another. Empathy is like a sheltering umbrella, allowing those beneath it to feel warmth, even in the storms of life. Without understanding and compassion, the world would grow cold, and people would drift further apart from one another. It is understanding that helps us step out of the darkness within the mind and move toward a wider horizon of awareness. When we cross the bridge of empathy, afflictions begin to dissolve, like butterflies drifting away into the distance. In the wondrous journey of life, simply meeting one another is already a precious connection that deserves to be cherished. Do not let a moment of anger wash away beautiful bonds, leaving only regret in its wake. For each of us carries hidden sorrows and unfulfilled wishes, and at times life may seem dim and heavy. There are moments when we feel that the human heart is fragile, like a thin sheet of paper. Yet in truth, the light of life is always present. The sun continues to shine warmly each day, yet sometimes we stand in our own shadows and forget the light surrounding us. Being tolerant toward others is not weakness, but a sign of a vast heart and deep wisdom. It is a wise choice that allows us to preserve peace amid the constant changes of life. Let us build bridges of understanding together, spreading compassion and sharing the best of ourselves with others. In doing so, the world becomes filled with warmth, like sunlight spreading everywhere. Life will inevitably contain situations that do not align with our wishes and circumstances that challenge our expectations. If we do not learn to let go lightly and accept what is, we will sink into endless fatigue and sorrow. People differ in awareness, perspectives, and levels of inner cultivation, so their ways of seeing and handling life will naturally differ. Because of this, conflicts and misunderstandings are unavoidable and are simply part of human existence. In such moments, forgiveness becomes a form of inner practice that helps us move through storms with steadiness. Forgiveness is like an umbrella, allowing us to walk through rain and wind without being swept away. When we forgive others, we may have to accept small losses or give up certain advantages. Yet this is not weakness, but a path that opens the heart and allows it to become lighter. Life is like the sky, not always clear and blue, but sometimes covered with grey clouds that weigh upon us. Life does not always grant joy and fortune, but at times tests us through hardship and difficulty. Therefore, open your heart and learn to forgive in order to move beyond people and situations that exhaust you. No matter how many regrets or misfortunes we have endured, they belong to the past and cannot be changed. Only when we release what has passed can the heart become light and peaceful again. No matter how capable or hard-working you are, life may still bring unexpected failures and challenges. Yet, if you have given your best effort, there is nothing to regret, for you have lived fully according to your ability. There are many things in life that we must face and experience alone, for no one else can take our place. There are also feelings that only we can truly understand, which cannot be fully expressed to others. When the heart is open, the path ahead becomes clear. But when the mind is narrow, everything feels obstructed. In life, we should place meaning and compassion above all, not relying solely on logic while forgetting sincerity. Time passes like the changing seasons, yet human life cannot return as nature does in its cycles. Each life offers only one chance to sow and harvest, so we should strive to create the most beautiful season we can. Ultimately, Life exists only in the present, so we should live each day as if it were our most precious opportunity. Yesterday has passed like flowing water and drifting clouds, and once gone, it can never return, leaving only echoes in memory. Today stands before us, yet is already moving into the past, reminding us to live fully in every present moment. Tomorrow will arrive naturally, yet once it passes, it too will become the past, just like everything else in life. Time passes so swiftly that in the blink of an eye, a year is gone, and when we turn back, an entire lifetime seems to have quietly come to a close. Only by letting go of what has passed and cherishing the present can we step into the future without carrying the weight of regret. If one lives entirely by emotions, it is easy to fall into tragedy. Yet, if one is overly rational, the heart becomes rigid and distant from human warmth. Without the twists and turns of life, it would not be a journey of growth, and without suffering, we would never fully understand the meaning of existence. Life is inevitably filled with both bitterness and sweetness, and human existence cannot escape the changes that arise within the heart. Everyone wishes for a life of peace and ease, free from hurt and rich in genuine affection. Yet, reality rarely unfolds so perfectly. There are things that become lighter once we see them clearly, and there are people who no longer trouble the heart once we truly understand them. At times, being human means not drawing rigid lines between right and wrong, for even the most sincere intentions can still be misunderstood or criticized. If we maintain a relaxed and open mindset, we will not be bound by what is unworthy, and the heart will remain free. As long as we cherish those who stand beside us, fulfill our responsibilities, and live with sincerity and kindness, everything will naturally find its rightful place. In life, having less money is not a great concern, but one must never allow their will to become poor or their vision to become limited. Even without reaching the peak of fame, we can still become someone useful and bring value to life. Outward appearance may not be remarkable, but the inner self must remain pure, for true beauty always arises from the soul. The body may be small, yet the heart should never be narrow, for only compassion can truly warm the hearts of others. Even if one appears fragile, a kind heart can still offer comfort and love to the world. Physical strength may be lacking, but the spirit must not be weak, for those who are timid easily fall into pessimism and self-doubt. Therefore, we must cultivate courage, personal conviction, and faith in ourselves to stand firmly in life. Our senses may not be sharp, yet the mind must remain clear so that we can see far and avoid being misled. We may be firm at times, but we must never let extremism turn us into someone harsh and unkind. If we lose our conscience, we push ourselves into suffering as if creating our own inner hell. Intelligence is valuable, yet we must not consider ourselves superior, for arrogance only leads to isolation. If we see others as inferior, we eventually become the ones who feel lost in this vast world. We may rest at times, but we must not become irresponsible toward life. What needs to be done should be completed fully, for this reflects respect for ourselves and for society. Maintain a spirit of contribution and do not rely on others or become a burden to them. We may live frugally, but we must not allow money to dictate how we perceive people or the value of life. If we measure others by material wealth, we unknowingly become servants to money ourselves. Tolerance is a beautiful virtue, yet it must be guided by principles so that we are not taken advantage of or hurt. Even when living gently, we must maintain clear boundaries to protect our dignity and self-respect. We may endure hardship to grow, but we must not allow ourselves to remain trapped in suffering without seeking a way out. Learn to rise above, for good things often come to those who are patient and persistent. Many values in life cannot be obtained through competition, but require time and patient waiting. Without patience, we easily miss precious opportunities and lose happiness that is drawing near. Savor both the great and the small in the present, for they are the pieces that form a meaningful life. When we look back, we realize that what once seemed insignificant holds irreplaceable value. Many things only reveal their true meaning once they become memories. If there is true connection, neither distance nor time can keep people apart. But if there is no connection, even standing close still feels like being strangers who cannot walk together. Some must walk through many stages, experiencing both glory and hardship before truly understanding life. When we can see someone clearly without needing to speak, we begin to understand the value of forgiveness and compassion. When we can respect someone we do not like, we reach a higher level of inner cultivation. Maturity is not defined by age, but by having experienced many places and events. Learning when to let go and when to be compassionate to avoid unnecessary conflict. Deep within every person lies their own unique pain. Not because time erases it, but because they understand that speaking it cannot change anything. There are wounds that remain, not because we do not care, but because we realize the only way is to face them quietly and allow time to gently heal. Maturity is the ability to maintain a peaceful smile while transforming suffering into inner calm and genuine happiness through mindful awareness. No matter how many things in life do not go as we wish, we still need the courage to face them rather than avoid them or blame fate. Do not complain about life, for each life exists only once, and whether long or short, every passing day is a precious opportunity. Each stage of life may be a step forward or backward, yet all of it contributes to the unique journey of each individual. No one is perfectly flawless, and no task is ever completely perfect. So we should not be overly harsh toward ourselves or others. When encountering narrow-minded people, do not rush to calculate gains and losses, for that only burdens the mind with unnecessary worry. When facing complicated matters, do not dwell too much, because the more we cling to them, the more exhausted we become. The world is vast, and human hearts are diverse, so encountering unpleasant situations is something unavoidable. In this dusty world, troubles and sorrows are also a natural part of the journey of living. Learn to think in moderation and view things with openness so that the mind is not confined or bound. When feeling sadness or anger, allow the emotions to settle before gently smiling and continuing forward. If there is no sunlight, listen to the wind and feel the beauty of the rain as a quiet form of comfort. If there are no blooming flowers, then enjoy the fragrance of the fields and the simplicity of nature around you. If there is no applause, learn to appreciate the silence and peace within your own inner being. As time passes and the years change, there is no need for complaint or regret, only the need to continue forward with a calm heart. Cherish sincere relationships and maintain a positive mindset in every circumstance you encounter. When restraint is needed, take a deep breath to remain calm and prevent emotions from controlling your actions. When facing difficulties, reflect carefully and shift your perspective to find a more suitable path forward. When failure arises, stand up again to rebuild your confidence and continue your journey. Learn to face yourself honestly and open your heart to life so that you may receive new experiences. Practice forgiveness for mistakes so that each day becomes lighter and more peaceful. Approach work with humility and treat others with sincerity as the foundation of all relationships. There will come gentle afternoons when all emotions of joy, sorrow, love, and resentment quietly settle like a soft breeze. In those moments, we smile and release the burdens within, allowing the heart to be free from what is past. Only after becoming weary of competition do we truly understand that happiness lies in simplicity and in the act of giving. At some point, we realize that impermanence is always present and nothing can be held on to forever. Everything in life will fade with time. Nothing remains eternal, and we ourselves are no exception. As old age approaches, the dreams of youth gradually drift away, leaving behind faint memories. If we live only in memories and forget the present, we lose ourselves in the flow of time. We spend a lifetime gathering things only to realize we cannot take anything with us, leaving only the experiences we have lived. Life is like a fleeting dream, where joys and sorrows dissolve like clouds without a trace. One day, we come to understand that this body does not belong to us alone, but is simply part of the natural order. Ambitions and attachments only deepen suffering, while the essence of life holds nothing worth clinging to. When the mind becomes still, we begin to see the vastness within and the profound beauty of letting go. In the depths of existence, everything is impermanent and insubstantial, merely a combination of conditions arising and passing away. Human beings come into this world only to experience two great events: birth and departure, and nothing more. Once a task is complete, only the journey ahead remains, so there is no need to rush or worry. Everything comes and goes according to conditions, and when those conditions end, all dissolves. So excessive waiting or desire brings no benefit. A wise person does not chase after the words of the world, nor become influenced by the gaze of others. Understanding one's own heart, observing one's right and wrong, and gradually improving is the true path of cultivation. The greatest loss is living without inner guidance and not directing the mind toward goodness. Whether we realize it or not, if we always keep goodness within our heart, nothing can truly disturb us. When the inner self is genuinely kind, we no longer blame anyone because we understand the causes and conditions behind everything. If we live simply and sincerely, then no matter how chaotic the world becomes, it cannot shake the peace within our soul. When one lives with kindness and performs good deeds, the body finds ease, the mind becomes light, and sleep deepens peacefully, for there is nothing left to disturb the heart. Doing good does not require witnesses, for heaven and earth perceive all, and even the unseen honors a sincere and upright heart. When doubt no longer resides within, the world no longer feels cold, for faith itself becomes the flame that warms human existence. When we stop comparing gain and loss, or closeness and distance, the world becomes more harmonious and connected in every relationship. When anger is not harbored, the sky within the heart remains vast and warm, like the gentle light of morning. When conflict is not stirred, all directions become peaceful, and life is free from unnecessary disturbances. True stillness is not the act of remaining motionless, but the ability to keep the mind calm while observing the ever-changing nature of all things. When we learn to listen to the subtle movements of nature, we begin to feel the quiet rhythm of peaceful life spreading everywhere. Enduring peace does not arise from external seeking, but from an inner mind that has been illuminated and settled. Throughout life, people wander and struggle in search of things, yet in the end, nothing can be carried along when we depart. Even after a lifetime of accumulation, no fame or glory can be held onto when the journey reaches its end. Birth marks the beginning of a limited journey, and at its end, everyone must say farewell. Therefore, while we still have the chance, we should live wholeheartedly and cherish those who truly matter to us. Do not chase after superficial standards, for they only distance us from the true values of life. A human life is truly brief, and some who once promised forever quickly become distant memories. There are also connections that have only just begun, yet must end in separation without the chance to meet again. Thus, while we still can, we should not create regrets that will weigh upon us later. Do not think too much, do not cling too tightly, and do not desire excessively, for all of these only burden the heart. What appears in our lives is meant to be experienced, not to be possessed forever. We are merely travelers passing through this world, and one day we must bid farewell to everything. Therefore, accept what comes with calmness and let go gently of what is past. Life does not measure how much suffering you have endured, but rather what you choose to express and become. People often focus only on the final outcome, rarely understanding the difficult journey behind it. When facing storms in life, remind yourself that after the rain, the sky will clear once more. Do not complain to others, for not everyone can truly understand or empathize with what you are going through. There are things that only reveal their lightness once we learn to let them go. There are memories that, when recalled, bring a gentle smile, for they are also beautiful parts of life. There are pains that, once understood, become strength that helps us grow. If we dwell too deeply on a single issue, we trap ourselves within a cycle of endless thought. Even the simplest matter becomes complicated when overthought and difficult to resolve. With a calm mind and an open heart, everything will eventually pass with ease. Life is too short to be spent in regret, so what is past should be allowed to rest. What has been eaten needs no repetition. What has been loved needs no regret. And what has ended needs no clinging. Ultimately, life is but a fleeting journey, like a drop of morning dew upon a flower. When we are born, we bring nothing with us, and when we leave, we take nothing away. Gain and loss are not truly important, for living in harmony with nature is already enough for peace. To one person, we may mean nothing, yet to another, we may be something truly precious. Therefore, understand your own worth so that you may live with dignity and not lose yourself. There is no need to invite many people into your life. Only those who truly understand you are enough. When we meet those who love us, we learn gratitude and appreciation. When we meet those we love, we learn how to share and give of ourselves. When we meet those who do not understand us, we learn tolerance and patience. When we meet those we do not yet understand, if we remain sincere, we will learn the deeper art of understanding. Time is a path that only moves forward, and once it is passed, it can never return. Life is sometimes very simple, and once we have made a choice, we should not look back in regret, but move forward with quiet acceptance. Human beings often live in contradiction, longing to be understood, while at the same time fearing that others may truly see into their inner depths. There are matters that become exhausting when overthought, yet once we truly understand them, they suddenly feel light and effortless. If someone truly waits with sincerity, they will remain patient until the end. But if their heart is indifferent, they will quickly walk away. In this world, many people may smile at us, yet only a few truly care about us with genuine concern. If you have been hurt in the past, let go decisively so that you do not carry that pain into the future. What is already drifted away should not be held on to, and we should not allow ourselves to sink into distant memories that disturb the peace of the present. Maturity is a journey filled with pain and experience, not only about what we gain, but also about what we must learn to release. There are paths in life that must be walked alone, through hardships that cannot be shared. Yet those moments themselves are deeply meaningful. Remember that we have only one life to live, so do not chase distant illusions while forgetting the value of what is present now. Do not grieve over what has passed, nor dream excessively about what is yet to come, but instead give your full attention to this very moment. It is the present moment that holds the true peace each person seeks within their heart. No matter how troubled you feel, do not reveal it excessively, for not everyone is willing or able to understand and share your burdens. No matter how tiring your work may be, do not complain, because no one else can carry your responsibilities for you. No matter how difficult your circumstances are, do not lament poverty or hardship, for no one is obligated to lift you if you do not rise yourself. When disappointed, do not collapse in despair, but remember those who place their trust and hope in you. When discouraged, do not give up, for the issue is not the situation itself, but how you choose to face it. Cherish every choice you make, because each decision becomes part of your journey toward growth. Even in hardship, do not complain too much, for everyone has their own life and cannot always be there to support you. Be a little stronger and learn to find joy in what you are doing in the present moment. Even when criticized, do not lose your determination, for no one is born perfect, and everyone learns through experience. Do not hastily assume you are alone, because very few truly understand the depth of loneliness within the soul. Some people have family and friends, yet still feel empty, for loneliness is not determined by circumstance, but by inner perception. When feeling sad or weary, learn to comfort yourself, because there will not always be someone by your side. If no one cares for you, then you must become stronger, for you yourself are your most reliable refuge. If no one encourages you, you must learn to motivate yourself and continue forward on your path. Even if unnoticed, live well and preserve your values like a quiet flower that still spreads its fragrance. Observe the small things, like roadside grass or green leaves on branches, and see how simple life still carries its own beauty. Even a humble existence, when lived fully, can become meaningful and radiant. Do not take life lightly just because it is brief, for no one can buy back lost health or lost time. When given the chance, gaze upon vast mountains and rivers, so that your spirit may expand and find rest. Do not be overly harsh with everything around you, because everything exists for its own reason. Do not rush to judge others, especially when you have not truly understood them. Offer guidance only to those close to you, and do so with sincerity and compassion. When anger arises, it is best to remain silent, for words spoken in haste often lead to regret. Forgive those who have hurt you, but also maintain distance to protect yourself. No matter how difficult life becomes, do not lose faith, for goodness still awaits ahead. Whatever your character may be, always remain devoted to your parents, for this is the foundation of moral virtue. Do not forget those who helped you in times of hardship, for gratitude is what shapes true character. Do not resent those who once loved you, and never betray the trust that others have placed in you. A tree, no matter how tall, cannot exist without its roots, just as a person, no matter how successful, must never forget their origin. In life, always remember those who helped you when you had nothing, for they are benefactors worthy of deep respect. Remember those who stood beside you in difficult times, sharing both your joys and sorrows. Cherish those who cared for you when you were unwell and loved you when you had nothing in your hands. Do not forget those who patiently guided you when you were still inexperienced and unaware, for their quiet teachings have shaped who you are today. When you carry gratitude within your heart, you naturally touch the hearts of others and receive their respect in return. Those who are truly loved by many are often people of good character who live with sincerity and integrity. In relationships, every meeting is shaped by causes and conditions, and nothing truly happens by chance. If you look at others with a kind and gentle heart, they will reflect that same kindness back to you like a mirror. On the contrary, if you view life through negativity, you will only see unrest and fear surrounding you. Just like looking into a mirror, if you smile, the reflection you see will brighten along with you. If you frown and carry sorrow, what returns to you will only be the heaviness of your own expression. Friendship is the same. When you treat others with respect and sincerity, you receive courtesy and goodwill in return. In life, treat friends with honesty, family with devotion, those you love with compassion, and those who hurt you with forgiveness, so your heart may remain light. When you consistently hold goodness within and act with kindness, those around you will gradually feel it and respond in the same way. If your heart contains goodness, your quality of life will naturally rise, for the inner mind is the root of all experience. As the mind is, so the outward expression becomes, and circumstances also shift according to how we perceive and face them. When kindness within becomes abundant, it radiates outward and creates beautiful results in our relationships. Finding faults in others only reflects our own incompleteness and brings no real benefit. When we blame others, we unknowingly diminish our own character at the same time. If we use our own standards to judge others, no one will ever seem good enough, for everyone has their own limits. Pushing others into a corner does not cause them to collapse, but instead leads ourselves into a dead end without escape. Focusing on others' right and wrong does not take anything from them, but causes us to miss the beauty of life. Those who live selfishly isolate themselves, while those who overcalculate become mentally exhausted. Only love can nurture meaningful bonds, and only compassion can embrace the vastness of the world. When you have time, reflect on yourself to correct your faults instead of discussing the right and wrong of others. Words may have no form, yet they hold immense power and can deeply wound if used carelessly. Among the mistakes of speech, slander and falsehood cause the greatest harm to moral integrity. Therefore, think carefully before speaking and avoid saying anything untrue, even in moments of jest. When offering criticism or advice, maintain gentleness so as not to hurt the dignity of others. Even when you are right, do not push others to their limits, but leave room for compassion and understanding. In handling matters, avoid rigidity and always leave a way out for yourself and others to preserve harmony. Accepting others is also opening the path for your own growth and development. When you learn to empathize with those around you, life's path becomes broader and more peaceful. A tolerant person is one who uses a kind heart to engage with life and with others. Good character is often revealed through respect and graceful conduct toward those around us. True cultivation is expressed through gentleness and the ability to see from another person's perspective. Only when we respect others can we receive respect in return from life. When we approach everything with a gentle attitude, our inner world gradually becomes calm and at ease. Without competing for gain and loss, there is no longer fear or anxiety, for the heart has released unnecessary attachments. Open your heart to love life, so that compassion may blossom in every small action. Whether familiar or unfamiliar, if we treat others with kindness, the world becomes far warmer. Living harmoniously with others helps us avoid loneliness as the years pass by. When life begins to fade with age, we can still smile, knowing we have lived without regret. Maintaining compassion and generosity is the path that leads to lasting peace and joy. When we live fully with love, even lonely afternoons no longer weigh upon the heart. People often find it easy to lift their heads high, yet difficult to bow in humility, for lowering oneself requires true strength. Speaking is easy, but knowing when to remain silent is a sign of wisdom and deep inner cultivation. Making promises is simple, but keeping them faithfully is what truly reveals the depth of one's character and integrity. Doubting others comes easily, yet to trust and recognize the goodness within them is a far more difficult and noble task. We often see clearly the faults of others, yet rarely take the time to recognize our own shortcomings with the same clarity. What we do for others is remembered carefully, but the kindness others have given us is often forgotten all too easily. Loving someone who is already good is not difficult, but to love and accept someone with many imperfections is what is truly precious. Letting go of what is harmful may seem easier, but returning to goodness and living by noble principles is the more meaningful path. Following worldly desires is effortless, yet maintaining discipline and living simply is far more challenging. Making vows to uphold virtue is easy, but persevering in practicing them in daily life is the true test of sincerity. Yielding to external temptations is simple, yet letting go and living with purity is a longer and more demanding journey. The cycle of rebirth already exists, but the path to liberation requires deep effort, awareness, and inner awakening. When we release pride and ego, we begin to see the vast openness of the mind. and the path ahead becomes wide and clear. In moments of stillness, we realize that the light of understanding has always been present, whether we are aware or lost in confusion.